Hey everyone, welcome back to Arizona Dreams. Today we're just doing a sit-down video to talk about some of the things that you should probably be aware of if you're considering moving to Arizona. I got my son here for moral support, right?
Right, Daddy.
Alright. So number one, let's talk about vehicles. If you own or lease a car, you're going to have to eventually register it in the state. Just be aware that Arizona bases the cost of registration on the age of the vehicle. So a brand new vehicle is going to cost you more than, say, a 4 or 5 year old vehicle. So just be aware of that, because it can be a little bit shocking when you come here, especially if you're coming from like Michigan or Ohio, where titles really aren't all that expensive. They'll be a couple $100 per vehicle here per year, and you can do a 1 or 2 year registration. Number two, if you're thinking about moving here, you need to consider, am I going to go to West Valley, North Valley, South Valley, etc. I can tell you that the majority of the jobs that are more technical or medical and things like that, the higher education required jobs, tend to be in downtown Phoenix or on the East Valley or Southeast Valley. So if you're going to be out in the West Valley and you have that kind of skill set, know that you're going to set yourself up for a good commute, and you can't trust Google's time estimates. I'm telling you, they'll not be accurate. The best rule of thumb that I've found is take your mileage, multiply it times 2 for best case scenario rush hour driving, multiply it times 3 for worst case scenario during rush hour driving. Speaking of sunrise, sunrise comes awful early in the morning, typically 5-ish, maybe 5:30 on the good times. And then summer, if you're like me and you grew up back in the Great Lakes area, you're used to sunsets going down at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, maybe even a little bit later in the peak of summer. Here, good luck with that. 7:30, maybe stretch it to 8, but I don't remember it really ever hitting that far. So just be aware that you get up early with the sun, and you go, your day, as far as the daylight goes, ends a little earlier. Like 7:30 is just probably a pretty good estimate. Also know that because of the fact that we're in the Valley of the Sun and it is a desert, days start early for all the labor type jobs. So landscape and mowing and things like that. Those things start early, so you'll hear the mowers running at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. So it can be noisy, can't it?
Yeah.
Alright, so now let's talk about yards and property. I think I've mentioned this in other videos, but what we found is we had an acre in our last property back east. Here, you'd be lucky to find an acre of good green grass, let alone an acre in general. The cost of property and the value is insane in comparison to acreage even up in northern Arizona or back east. Acreage up north, you can probably find some for $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 per acre. Here, there's a place where we're by right now that has almost 10 acres, and it's a more than $1 million sale. So acreage in the valley, not cheap. Speaking of summertime, like we were talking about with sunrise and sunset, something else to be aware of. One, AC gets run a lot more. A lot of homes here will have 2 air conditioners. Some will have 1. So it depends. A lot of 2-story homes will have 1 for the upstairs and 1 for the downstairs, so that you get a better climate control since hot air rises. And the temperatures can soar over into the hundreds and even up into the 110s, and sometimes into the 120s. Your electrical bill is going to be higher. You're looking at, for a 2,000 square foot home, talking family 5, 6 people, anywhere $300 to $500 per month for that utility. Let's talk about where you're going to live. Mountains are definitely some place that you want to live next to. A lot of people move here specifically for the views of the mountains. Now, the closer you get to the mountains, the higher the population of scorpions. They like rocks. As my son here will tell you, where do you find the scorpions here?
In the rock stakes. Sometimes they crawl from under the bricks into the rock.
Okay, great. So, higher population of scorpions. If you are like some and you opt to go towards the man-made lakes or the canals, know that there is a higher population of mosquitoes because most of the lakes are pretty stagnant. Also, the roach count is higher. So just be aware. It doesn't mean you can't live there, and it doesn't mean they can't be under control. There are plenty of services that take care of all of those. And they can do monthly treatments, or you can do it yourself. Okay? Traffic. Traffic gets worse in the wintertime. Why? Because of the snowbirds. Snowbirds are people that come here for the wintertime. Phoenix and Tucson are huge snowbird destinations. So come fall through early spring, the snowbird population goes up. People don't know their way around as well. Traffic goes up, accidents go up. Probably going to need a car to get around. We have buses, we have taxis, we have all the Lyft type services, Uber, Lyft, Waymo. But there's no real rail system. There's one light rail, and it goes from Mesa into downtown, Phoenix. So, gonna need a car if you really have any kind of commute whatsoever, or you're gonna need to pay some serious bus or taxi fees or Lyft fees. Water. The water here, quite frankly, the taste, to me at least, is not too good. Every time I've lived here, I've either had a water service, where somebody brings me bottled water or a cooler. You're going to want to have a filter. There's a couple of reasons for that. Arizona has hard water, but also Arizona has algae that grows up in the north parts, and since we get all of our water down basically from Colorado and some of the lakes and whatnot, that algae, when it gets hotter, it grows, it's harder to get rid of, so we get this funky taste of algae in the water, and it's really hard for them to get out, especially when it gets hotter. I would recommend that you get a water filtration system, either on the tap, a whole house filter, because it is hard water, so it will help with your bathing, or at the minimum, a pure filter, zero filter, whatever, pitcher. Last thing that I want to touch on is valley fever. And if you don't hear about valley fever when you come here as a new person, I'd be shocked. Valley fever is typically not that bad of a deal, but it can be. It can actually be fatal, and it's very rarely, but it can be fatal. Basically what it is it's a microorganism that's under the soil, the topsoil, and because we have the sandstorms and whatnot and a lot of the windstorm stuff, that gets kicked up. If that gets into your sinuses, into your lungs, specifically into your lungs, that can cause an infection. That's what they call valley fever.
Even you can die.
You can even die, but it's very rare. You're right. So just be aware of that one. If you do like my wife does, you get an app that tells you when the air quality is good or bad, and you don't let the kids go out when it's in the red. So there's a few tips for you. Anything else?
Peace out. Bye.
All right, you know the drill. If you're gonna come here for the sun, pay heed to those tips that I gave you. Otherwise, subscribe, share, like, give me those comments down below. Let me know what you want to know, what questions you got about the valley, and what places you'd like to see. We're trying to hit as many of those as we get requested. The more requests, the faster we get to that spot. All right, take care. Check back for the next video.